Welcome to the Starting Over podcast. This is our first time that we're looking at a power, so you call it part one of our training regimen, and we are looking at Flurry. Now, I'm going to read off Flurry's ability. It says, Flurry, give this character a close combat action. After the close combat attack resolves, it may make a second close combat attack as a free action. If this character loses Flurry before it makes the second attack, it can't make the second attack. Okay, so how can we utilize Flurry to the highest ability? Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is Flurry, Blaze Claws, Fangs. Now note, the chances of getting, 6 both times on your blades and a crit is a little bit obscenely rare. But mind you, is possible on the high ends of the statistical luck. But we can't really expect to do that all the time. More realistically, what we can see with Flurry is most of the time it's going to be paired with another power that we might be able to use to our advantage. Sometimes it's Steel Energy, other times it's Super Strength. Those two powers in particular just stand out in my mind. Charge Flurry is one of the greatest combinations introduced to us in the era of special powers. I think it was first the Crisis Chase Superman, then Hercules, and then several other characters from that point on, giving us mobility and the ability to deal out tons of damage. Okay, so let's really start to massage Flurry a little bit. We need to first ask ourselves, are we putting this on a brick? And the answer needs to be yes. And I say putting it on is it on a brick? Is it on a figure that has damage reduction of some kind? Or is it on a figure that has combat reflexes? Energy Shield really doesn't help you that much. So you want to really try to avoid Charge and Flurry with Energy Shield deflection. Really just try to avoid Flurry with Energy Shield deflection. It's not really that beneficial. The next thing that we're going to look at in our analysis of Flurry is what type of team composition best benefits Flurry and how can we maximize it? Now, we can have some instances where the character uses Flurry and we have a team effect that benefits every time that a member of the team does an attack and is successful. Or we can go on and say like, hey, we have a figure like Doppelganger who can use Flurry and then also be able to have tokens placed on higher point characters so that he can use pretty much, attack again. So we have a massive use of Flurry right there. Okay, so Flurry in a team composition can be quite useful. The other thing that we might want to think about is how we're going to get our Flurry person into battle. TK seems to be like the most obvious, but past that we need to really think about continual mobility. Now again, we are focusing on Flurry. We're not trying to look at, oh look, this figure can Flurry with all sorts of other, manner of shenanigans, but just primarily saying, Flurry, looking at the realistic limitations. If we take Charge and Flurry out of the equation, and we just look at Flurry with no ability to move around, then we're left with a different reality. We might need some figure to carry it around like Lockjaw and Hairball. We might need TK. We might need some effect on our team that allows figures to move for free and make an attack afterward, such as Lieutenant Gordon. Okay, so we need to think about how we're going to be using Flurry, and if need be, we just say, hey, I dedicate a cheap taxi like Dinosaur to him, to my Flurry piece, so that I can always move that figure around. Okay, next up, we're going to really start to see is that we're going to have serious disadvantages uh, to having a flurry piece on our team, mainly just the cost. Most flurry pieces are in that 80 points plus. And when you're looking at that 80s, that's usually like the low end. They usually don't have too great of a stats. Usually looking at 9 attacks mostly. So definitely we need to look at, hey, 10 attacks to make this go off. And then we also, look at the realization that if we miss both attacks, that can be a problem. If we're attacking mystics figures or arachnos figures, it can be a problem because we're taking that damage. Steel energy also can be a blessing and a problem because if you heal past flurry, you don't get your second attack off. Okay? All right. So take your time, play your game, and meet me back here in the next part of our analysis.